All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to do something really special. We're going to peek behind the curtain and watch something incredible happen. We're going to watch meaning itself be born inside the mind of a machine. So, if you remember in our last explainer, we looked at the final product, right? This huge geometric map where words aren't just words, they're coordinates. King and queen have a location. Dog and puppy have a location. And the distance between them, well, that's what defines their relationship. It's a universe where meaning is a physical place.
But here's the big question. How is that map actually made? It doesn't just appear. It starts out as pure chaos. And today, we're going to be here for it. We're going to watch step by step as a machine takes that chaos and sculpts it into structured, understandable meaning.
So let's picture the very beginning. It's not a blank canvas. Oh no, it's a total mess. The system starts with every single word it knows just scattered randomly in this high-dimensional space. Cat might be right next to car. Love could be closer to spreadsheet than to joy. There's absolutely no order, no meaning. It's just a random cloud of points.
And you know, this really represents a huge shift in thinking. The old way of doing things treated every word like its own separate island. Mathematically, cat was no closer to kitten than it was to rocket ship. But this new approach, it creates a continuous universe. It forces every word to find its rightful place, its home, in relation to every other word.
So how do we get from that random cloud to an ordered map? What's the force that brings it all together? Well, it's not some human teacher painstakingly placing each word. And this is the truly mind-bending part. The machine literally teaches itself.
The process is called self-supervised learning, and it's kind of brilliant. The AI just takes a gigantic pile of text, think all of Wikipedia or all the books ever written, and it starts giving itself little pop quizzes. It'll take a sentence, hide one of the words, and then try to guess what word it hid. And it does this billions and billions of times.
Honestly, it's a lot like the wax-on, wax-off training from the Karate Kid. The goal isn't really to get good at waxing cars, right? That's just the exercise, the pretext task. The real point is to build up that core strength, that muscle memory. And it's the same here. The AI isn't trying to become a world champion word guesser. That's just how it builds its semantic muscle. And as a byproduct of this simple game, a deep, rich map of word relationships just emerges.
Now, as the machine keeps learning, a fundamental force starts to take hold. It starts pulling this random universe of words into a coherent shape. You can almost think of it like a kind of semantic gravity.
And this whole beautiful process is built on one simple, really powerful idea from linguistics. A word's meaning is defined by the words that usually hang out with it. The machine doesn't know what a dog is, but it learns that the word dog shows up a lot in your words like walk, bark, loyal, and fetch.
And this is where the magic happens. Every single time the model gets a guess wrong, the learning algorithm gives the word vectors a tiny little nudge. So if the words coffee and cup often appear together, but their vectors are way far apart in the space, the algorithm literally pulls them a tiny bit closer. Now, multiply that tiny pull by billions of sentences. That is the force that organizes the entire map.
Okay, but just pulling things together isn't quite enough. I mean, if you only have gravity, everything eventually clumps together, right? To create a stable, meaningful structure, you also need to know what things to push apart. You need more complex forces at play.
And there are two main strategies for this, two different ways of looking at context. One is called CBOW. It looks at all the words around a blank space to guess the missing word. The other, skipgram, does the exact opposite. It looks at a single word and tries to predict all the words that should be its neighbors. It sounds like a small difference, but it has a huge impact on what the model learns.
And this is why skipgram is so incredibly clever. Think about it. Because it makes multiple predictions from a single word, it gives rare words more chances to influence the map. A word like quintessential, which doesn't show up that often, can still create enough of those little poles to find its proper home. It's a way of making sure that the entire vocabulary, not just the common stuff, gets a rich, meaningful place. So we have the pull, the force of attraction. But we also need the push, a force of repulsion. And that's where something called negative sampling comes in. For every real pair of words the AI sees, like coffee and cup, the system also shows it a few fake, totally random pairs, like coffee and bulldozer. And it's taught to do two things: pull the real pair together and actively push the fake pair apart. So let's just think about that for a second. What do you think would happen if we only had that attractive force, if the model only ever learned to pull related words closer and closer together?
The entire map, the whole universe of meaning, it would collapse into a single point. Without that repulsive force pushing unrelated things away, semantic gravity would just pull every single word into the exact same spot. It would be a meaningless singularity. It's this beautiful, delicate balance of push and pull that gives the space its structure, its shape, its meaning.
And once this space is stable, once it has that structure, something truly amazing begins to happen. The geometry itself starts to mean something. Abstract relationships become encoded as simple directions, allowing the AI to reason just by moving through the space. This is the classic example, and it is just so cool. You can literally do math with words. You start at the coordinate for the word king. Then you move in the direction that means subtract man. And from there, you move in the direction that means add woman. And where do you end up? Right in the neighborhood of queen. Concepts like gender, royalty, tense, they've become actual directions on the map.
Now, for a long time, this kind of static map was as good as it got. But language isn't static, is it? Meaning changes all the time based on context. So the map itself had to evolve. It had to learn how to move.
And here's the classic problem that shows why. The word bank. On a static map, bank has to live in just one spot. So where do you put it? It ends up being this blurry, useless average of a riverbank and a financial bank, not really capturing either meaning well. But on a living map, the word bank is no longer stuck in one place.
Just take a moment and let this sink in. In these modern systems, when the AI reads a sentence like the riverbank, the vector for bank dynamically shifts. It's pulled over into a neighborhood with words like water and shore. But in the next sentence, I deposited money at the bank, that same word's vector moves to a totally different part of the map, a neighborhood filled with words like finance, money, and account. Meaning is no longer a fixed point. It's a trajectory.
And at the end of the day, that is the big realization. We really have to update how we think about this. A modern AI isn't some static dictionary that just stores definitions. It is a dynamic, living landscape of meaning that is constantly reshaping itself based on the flow of language.
So, we've watched this universe of meaning get born from chaos, we've seen it shaped by these fundamental forces of push and pull, and we've watched it come to life. We now have a map that understands the deep, intricate relationships in human language. So the real question is, what can we build on top of it? Now that we have the map, where can it take us? We're going to find out in part 3.